Hello and welcome to our YouTube channel on programming and linear algebra for biologists. So these videos in general are aimed at researchers in the sciences, so mostly grad students, postdocs. Although if you're an undergraduate or even a high school student, power to you. I hope you find something useful here. So these are to help you get up to speed on some skills that you might not have picked up in your coursework, but you're finding now you need more and more. Biology in particular has become more and more of a computational discipline very rapidly. So this will help you to learn some programming, some data analysis, some math that can help you with your research. And so because this is a YouTube series, of course, you can do it at your own pace, which is helpful. There are 3 playlists currently in our channel. So one is linear algebra for genome-wide association studies, or GWAS, and genomic selection. Another one is emergency R, which is sort of a quick intro into R. And then there's one that goes into more depth, that is programming with R and Python. And that one, there's the video that doesn't necessarily fit into any of these lists, but it's in the programming with R and Python list. That is a video about reusing code that you find online. So more detail about these particular playlists. So the linear algebra series, it gives an overview of models used in GWAS and genomic selection. It introduces why would we care about linear algebra, how do we do basic math with linear algebra, and then kind of puts those together and how do we use linear algebra in GWAS and GS, and it gives a quick demonstration in R of how those are done. So that's to help you, if you need to use genome-wide association or genomic selection and you want to understand conceptually more about how they work, then these videos are for you. The Emergency R series is designed to get you going basically as fast as possible with some basic skills in R so you can import a data set and do some things with it. So it's assuming that you're coming into this not knowing anything about programming or anything about R, or maybe you've had a quick introduction but you're a little shaky. So there are 15,000 R packages, I think, as I'm recording this. So there are probably a lot of things that you want to do that I'm not covering in this series just because I can't, do everything for everyone. But this gets you some of the basics where if you're starting with something that's either a spreadsheet or is in some sort of delimited text file that is like a table, how do you import that into R? How can you manipulate that data, explore it, make some plots, do a little bit of statistics and linear modeling. So some generalized things that R is really good at. So, if you need to make a box plot and you need it for a poster for tomorrow, this is the series that's for you. There's another series that goes a little bit more in depth, that's programming with R and Python. So this, if you have that poster that you need to get done by 7 a.m. tomorrow, this is not the series that's for you. This is more if you have a little bit more time available and you want to pick up some skills that will help you out in the long term with your coding. So this again assumes no coding experience, but it gets you some fundamental programming knowledge that will help you learn any programming language. And that's why I'm putting 2 languages into one video. Even though it makes it a bit longer, it gives you a big picture view of key concepts that are helpful no matter what programming language you're using. Another good reason to have these both in one video series is if you've been talking to people and they're like, oh, you need to learn to code, you need to learn to code, you probably have people saying, oh, you got to learn Python, and you have some other people saying, oh, you got to learn R, and you might not be sure which one you want to use. So here I'm going to show you how to do the same stuff in both, and before you get too deep into it, you can say, oh, you know what, I think I like one of these better than the other, or one of these is going to serve my purposes better than the other. So you get to dip your toes in both, kind of on equal footing. Now, I do present Python first because I think Python is easier to learn. But at least in my field, R ends up being more useful. Now that varies from field to field. Some fields Python is more useful. It all depends on what tools are developed in which. But I present Python first because frankly I think that R makes more sense if you've already gotten the key concepts in a language that's a little bit easier. So that's why I put Python first. Um, now these all have a table of contents and I encourage you to skip around in them, but I would not recommend just always skipping the Python portion and then going straight to the R portion because I recorded assuming that you've watched both, so I might refer back to some concepts or, not repeat myself too much, basically. All right, now if you try to actively learn to code in both at once, you're probably going to get really confused, and you'll even see me in the videos get confused about which one I'm doing, which is which. So I recommend follow along with one language, like, sit at your keyboard, type along with me, pause it, do all the exercises in that language, really dive into it. And the other one, just kind of passively sit and watch so you can say, okay, how is it different? How would you do these same things in this different language? And if you change your mind about which one you want to learn, you can always go back and redo it, right? Okay. And so I apologize that each video is roughly an hour long. I know that's a lot. And the reason for that, partly because I'm covering two languages, that makes it a lot longer. But in some of our early evaluations of these videos, the feedback that we got is that we want lots of exercises and we want the code to show real world examples, not little toy examples that don't mean anything, but actually like, okay, how is this used in a data analysis? So in order to have both of those things, then the real world examples get a little bit involved. But the plus side of that is you'll probably learn some other things and other tips and tricks along the way as you're following along with that. But that's why I have a table of contents, so you don't have to do it all in one sitting. You can always pick up where you left off or go, find a section to repeat if you want to go back to it. All right, and I have a few other resources that I would recommend for learning to program. I wouldn't do this video series all by myself, as much as that would stroke my ego. I know that there are other ways to learn to code and better ways to learn to code. So to supplement this video series, one thing I'd look at is Swirl, especially if you're learning R. So this is an R tutorial that basically you install on your computer and you follow right along with it. And then there's an organization called the Carpentries, which runs workshops. Now, if you don't have Carpentries instructors already at your university and you request a workshop, it does cost some money, but they're nonprofit, so it's not that expensive. And I am one of the instructors for this, and it's been really great. Like it's these very intensive 2-day workshops that basically take you from knowing nothing and help you to at least start crawling along and get a general sense of what you can learn and what you can do. Right, and so all of these videos are supported from a grant from the National Science Foundation.